Good afternoon, welcome to the ICTY weekly press briefing. I'm Magdalena Spalinska, spokesperson to Registry and Chambers. And as always, I'm also joined by a representative of the Office of the Prosecutor, Margaret Prince, Special Advisor to the Prosecutor. Judge Theodore Meron, in his capacity as both ICTY and MICT President, will deliver tomorrow his biannual progress report to the UN Security Council. The speech is scheduled to begin at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, New York time, which is 2100 in The Hague. The live webcast of the address can be followed on the UN website. I will now highlight several developments in the tribunal's ongoing cases. In the case of Wojslaw Szeszel, following an order from the trial chamber for both prosecution and the accused to file submissions, the translated version of Szeszel's opinion on the continuation of proceedings in his case was filed last week. In his submission, Szeszel claims that following the disqualification of Judge Harhoff, the proceedings in his case can no longer continue. Rehearing the case would, in his view, constitute a grave breach of international procedural law, and therefore the proceedings against him should be suspended. He should be urgently released and receive financial compensation. Following Szeszel's submission, the prosecution also filed its opinion on the continuation of the case, arguing that the trial should continue at the deliberation stage after Judge Niang familiarizes himself with the existing case record. Last week, in the Karadzic case, Judge Moloto, appointed by the MICT President Meron, denied Karadzic's request to investigate possible contempt of court by Carla Del Ponte, former ICTY prosecutor. Judge Moloto concluded that there had been no order from the Slobodan Milosevic chamber that was violated by Carla Del Ponte, and therefore found there was no reason to believe that she was in contempt of the tribunal. In the Stanisic and Żuplianin appeals case, Judge Agius, appointed by ICTY President Meron to consider a number of defense motions in relation to the issue of Judge Harhoff's letter, assigned Judge Sekula to replace Judge Meron on the appeals bench for the sole purpose of considering these motions. In relation to the Żuplianin's motion to vacate the trial chamber judgment, Judge Agius yesterday denied the accused motion requesting the disqualification of Judge Liu from considering this motion. According to Żuplianin, Judge Liu, who sat on the panel that disqualified Judge Harhoff from the Szeszel case, dissented from the majority decision and therefore is not in a position to adjudicate Żuplianin's motion to vacate without being predisposed to a particular outcome. Now I will turn to the upcoming court schedule. In the case of Goran Hadžić, a motion for acquittal or Rule 98 bis hearing has been scheduled for the 16th and 18th of December at 9 o'clock in the morning in courtroom 3. First, the defense will present its arguments on the 16th, followed by the prosecution response on the 18th. The prosecution had closed its case on the 17th of October 2013. Now, in the case of Radovan Karadzic, former local official in the municipality of Cluj, Marko Adamovic is giving testimony. The defense has so far called 194 witnesses in this case. In the case of Ratko Mladic, the trial will resume tomorrow with the continued testimony of expert witness Roinand Toinens, a military expert. He is the 164th witness and last to be called by the prosecution. The prosecution is thus expected to complete its case next week. During the trial last week, the defense has indicated it intends to file a Rule 98 bis motion for acquittal. The appeals hearing in Popovic et al. Case resumes this week. It is also scheduled for the whole of next week. And finally, a status conference has been scheduled for the appeals case of Stanisic and Żuplianin to be held on the 11th of December at 3:30 in courtroom 1. That concludes my briefing. Margaret?
Thank you. Tomorrow the prosecutor will present the Office of the Prosecutor's 20th completion strategy to the Security Council. He will address the current status of trials and appeals, cooperation between the country in the former Yugoslavia and the Office of the Prosecutor, the progress of national war crimes cases in Bosnia and Herzegovina, as well as regional cooperation between Croatia, Serbia and Bosnia and Herzegovina. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the journalists? If not, thank you very much, and we see each other next week.